Martin County's Heritage Station.
It's time now for the Casey Ingram Show on WSTU. The opinions expressed are those of the program host and guest and not necessarily those of WSTU. WSTU does not endorse products that may be mentioned. Any reproduction or retransmission of this broadcast is strictly prohibited without written consent of WSTU. It's time to call in with your questions and comments at 220-9788, 220-WSTU. And now, here's Casey Ingram.
Welcome back to the second half hour, folks. If you've been following along with this show at all, you know that we have talked about the ordinance in Martin County, Ordinance 1181 that was passed in June that banned the retail sale of puppies, kittens, and rabbits in Martin County. And just to briefly recap a little bit, there's 2 pet stores in Martin County. Both are located in the city of Stuart. I've already spoken with Wags About You owner, and today I'm going to have the owners of the Noble Paw in. So you folks get a chance to meet them. I wanted them to have this opportunity because when this ordinance was passed, they were not notified. They had no idea. The county did not notify them. Nobody investigated their shops. Nobody came and visited them or spoke with them. So if you can imagine, they're a startup business. Both of them opened in about last November. They're running their businesses, trying to make sure they have happy customers, and all of a sudden they see media setting up outside their store. And wonder what that's about. Well, lo and behold, the media comes in and says, what do you think about the ban that says you're going to have to close your store in 6 months? And literally, folks, that's how they found out. It's unbelievable to me, and when I found this out, this is where I've been able to reach out, and these owners have just been so upset. They're hoping that people will listen, reconsider this ordinance, and folks, what this ordinance did was ban all stores. It basically decided that all pet stores are bad, so we're going to shut you all down. It did not take into account there are good and ethical and reputable stores out there like these 2 here in Martin County. Give you a little time recap, and then we're going to meet our owners. And the stores opened in November 2021. December 2021, Miss Carrie Burgess from the Farm Dog Rescue emailed the County Commission a 41-page packet that had sample bans for retail sale of puppies and kittens. On February 2nd, then a complaint comes in that was unsubstantiated, and Animal Control investigated the complaint, and they did not find any wrongdoings or violations. Folks, there are no citations of violations on either store in this county. February 6th, Commissioner Ed Campy forwarded the complaint to Carrie Burgess of Farm Dog Rescue and said, Carrie, please see the email below. I will find out tomorrow what is happening with our item to ban these stores. I wasn't sure if you wanted to reach out to this Angela, but I will as well. March 11, another letter sent to the BOCC in support of banning the puppy stores and accuses one of the stores of buying puppies from the mills. Again, completely unsubstantiated. And the person also knew about the puppy ordinance that was being considered. And this is in March, before it was even brought to the commission. So they had some sort of inside information about that. In June 6th, one day before the vote, another pet rescue urges the BOC to ban the puppy stores. And then on June 7th, this store did just that. So today in the studio, I have Jill Scott and her daughter, Rachel Scott, the owners of Noble Paw here in Stuart. And Jill and Rachel, we're going to run through and have some really tight questions. Jill, I'm going to start telling people a little bit about yourself. Jill has always dedicated her life to caring for others, especially those who lack the voice and ability to do so for themselves. She began her career in the early 80s working in the nursing field. Then in 87, she became a criminal certified guardian ad litem for Palm Beach County District 15. Her focus was using her nursing skills to evaluate children's injuries in child abuse cases. The Florida Guardian Ad litem office represents abused, abandoned, and neglected children in the court and community. In the late 90s, Jill founded Adoption for Adoption Source, Inc. This was an international program to work with the territories of the former Soviet Union to identify orphan children, where she assisted in placing approximately 2,000 children with families in the United States. In 2004, Adoption Source attained U.S. accreditation for continued work under The Hague, and this was ratified by the United States. This was meaningful for Jill in many ways, and more than one way. She adopted her daughter, Rachel, and who is now her business partner. And Rachel, you started out in one of those Russian orphanage.
I did.
Jill has always had a love for animals since childhood. Jill followed her heart and in 2009 purchased an existing pet store in Wellington in which she saw a need for a full-service facility to help pet owners with a cost-effective way to take care of their pets. In 2013, she founded Pet Life Animal Hospital and Pet Center, a full-service animal hospital, pet retail, and supply store, boarding and grooming center. Then in 2021, Rachel moved to Stewart and convinced her mom that Stewart was a welcoming community where she wanted to open a pet store that not only sold puppies and kittens, but also provided rescue pets. In November 21, the Noble Paw opened its doors. So, with that being said, Jill, what was your reaction to all the slanderous allegations that were said about you and your store at that county commission meeting on June 7?
Stunned. I think that's the best word. We were absolutely blindsided and stunned.
You know, the animal rights activists and the Humane Society, and by the way, they're already contacting the commission and starting a campaign to keep the ordinance as is. So, folks, there's a link in the feed below on my Facebook Live page to go sign a petition to support keeping these businesses open. You can go to, it's https://tiny.1/puppies. tiny.1/puppies. This is a petition to help these stores have a voice to stay open. These county commissioners need to hear from everybody. This really is not just about puppy stores and rescues. This is about what the county commission did to a small business here in the community. So, folks, if you can support them, please do. And we're going to talk a little bit more about some of these things that were said, Jill. Questions for either one of you. How many employees do you have?
We currently have 8 employees working for us.
Between these two stores, there's 16 employees that they have brought here to Martin County, folks. Where do you source your puppies from?
From different breeders, most of them home breeders, licensed by the USDA. For the most part, people that I've known for decades. I would say probably 75% of them whose actual home I have been in personally, seen them, are familiar with their breeding programs. Since opening the stores, we have met new breeders. I flew out to Indiana, Kentucky, and I forget one other state this past April. But we make sure we know exactly what they do, how they do it, and Arkansas. I'm sorry. We have a lovely Southern gentleman down in Arkansas, Mr. Billy. So we don't use big, large commercial facilities because I think there is a difference between a puppy mill and a large commercial facility, but we really do not believe or support the commercial facilities either. Even though they don't practice these atrocities you hear about, we still don't believe that the lives of the parents are a priority for them, so we do not work with them either.
So, folks, she flies out and visits her breeders to make sure they aren't what we call a puppy mill, which I'm not. We all hear the term puppy mill, but there isn't really an actual definition of that. But you make sure they don't come from abusive environments.
Absolutely. Both Rachel and I have very, very strong opinions about how animals should be kept and how they should be treated. And we work only with people whose feelings are consistent with that.
Can you describe your typical customer?
So our typical customer is usually young families, as well as older couples or single older person seeking to add a new family member to their home.
I have a question about that a little bit. If your store was not here in Stewart, it really leaves folks to have to go out and try and hunt and to their own devices to try and find puppies. And one place they do that is off Craigslist. Can you talk about that a little bit?
I don't think either Rachel or I ever imagined that what was going on in the world before we came here is going on. And for the most part, Rachel should probably speak more to this than I, but I have seen so many older senior women come in with the most horrible tales of sending money, falling in love with a puppy online. They are sent pictures for weeks and weeks, this build up towards they're going to have this companion that they want, and there's literally nothing.
And
there's nothing.
Scam. And believe it or not, it's young families as well. I'm there day to day, talking to our clients and hearing the stories. And at the least, I hear once a week. I tried to purchase a puppy online. and it was a scam. And they've sent money, and they're heartbroken. They let their families know. They have these pictures. They're getting their houses ready, and they have everything they need for a new puppy, and yet they don't have this puppy, and they are just heartbroken. And we really do feel so bad for them that they have to go through this.
If I can say one thing also, if you can imagine the setup to an elderly woman on her own, she's had this anticipation, this build-up, she's already sent money, and then she's told to meet a perfect stranger at some location that she's not familiar with, alone, with a pocketbook full of cash. I can't imagine anything more intimidating.
This is what our Board of County Commissioners folks did not hear. They did not hear it all from these pet stores. They made a decision. Basically, the animal rights activists and the Humane Society targeted these 2 stores to close them before the paint was even dry on their walls, literally the month after they opened. They targeted these stores to close them. And this is leaving our residents in our community to their own devices to have to find puppies. These are brick and mortar stores they can go back to and say, I have a question about my puppy. They know they're going to be there. This gives safety and security in purchasing our puppies so you're not scammed. And, we're really asking for the Board of County Commissioners. I'm asking them to rescind and rewrite this ordinance with input from the most impacted parties, and that's the stores, as well as the rescues. There obviously are bad actors out there. Jill, Rachel, you want to get rid of these bad actors as well.
We absolutely want to get rid of them. They make this, they've turned this industry into what it is today. A puppy is the most wonderful, joyful thing on earth. And they have turned that into something that's terrible. Neighbors shaming other neighbors. It's just turned into such ugliness. And a canine companion is one of the best joys in life. It should be.
It is. And let's talk a little bit, too. Well, first, why, one of the arguments for the shelters and the animal rights people is there's so many dogs in shelters, you shouldn't be selling dogs. Everybody should go to the shelter and adopt.
There's a lot of reasons, but I find that the shelters don't have what everybody is looking for. I think if everyone could adopt, I think a lot of the world is animal lovers. I think if we all could adopt, we would. But I think that a lot of people have certain needs or wants when it comes to getting an animal. So that's why they seek out either a private breeder or a pet store so that they can meet the needs for their families, for their homes. And a lot of the shelters, especially here in Florida, have large breeds where we don't know their history, we don't know their past, we don't know their medical conditions, that don't have any kind of warranties or care that stand behind these animals. So when seeking a new family member, they want to know where their dogs are coming from.
Same for me. And I wanted a puppy so it would be attached to my daughter. It was her dog. And, sometimes when they're older, they just attach to the person that feeds them the most, what have you. But a puppy has a special bond. So.
Always so true. And I think we hear this all the time. I think a lot of people, a pet is has such profound impact on a family that most people for the rest of their life will seek out the breed that they grew up with.
That's right.
It's just part of their life, part of their fabric and their makeup.
Guilty. And I had a toy poodle when I was a girl, and I just bought my daughter that. So.
Exactly. And unfortunately, there are no toy poodles in Florida shelters. I can almost guarantee that.
There are not. It was very tough to find one. And I bought this poodle 2 years ago before you guys were in town. I wish you would have been, because I had to drive over 2 hours. And guess, folks, I was looking everywhere. I did find it off Craigslist. I lucked out. But
you're lucky.
There's a lot of bad scams on there. I know there are. And especially for older folks.
We are guilty of that as well.
A lot of our clients do rescue, and then they want a specific breed. And then myself and Jill both have rescues, but we both have dogs from private breeders as well. So people, I feel, need to be allowed to have the option.
It is. It's a free option. It's a free country, and we should have the opportunity.
Exactly.
You wouldn't be in business if there wasn't demand. That's the bottom line there.
You're exactly right.
And let's talk a little bit more about your health guarantee that you offer. The rescues have claimed they're being flooded 10 to 15 intake calls. One rescue said a day that she's getting since the stores opened. And I looked at her website, the Farm Dog Rescue, this past week, and there's literally just 12 dogs on it. But she said she's getting 10 to 15 intake calls a day.
Casey, we have both been chomping at the bit to respond to that. There is absolutely, positively, categorically no way that is true. It just isn't. We own an animal hospital. We support and can easily support anything. I dealt with this for 20 years doing children's adoptions. We don't roll humans or animals off a conveyor belt in a manufacturing shop. God created these animals, and things happen to the most wonderful creatures, but things happen. I think the goal should be that people purchase their pets or find their pets somewhere that they know they're going to be supported if there's a problem. Nobody can guarantee that an animal will never have a health issue. And much like a kindergarten, when we have all our pets together, sometimes we'll get a cough and it'll spread. We stand behind everybody 100%. So our contract calls for the new pet owner to go to our animal hospital within the first 3 days of purchase. They have the opportunity at no charge to sit with a licensed Florida veterinarian. He does a nose-to-tail exam of that pet. He shares that information with the family who is right there. They have a health certificate that was done and when the pet was examined before the family even knew them. And for the next 14 days, anything that should come up with that animal's health, it's covered 100%. We also make allowances for a family to, if they just call us up and say, we made a mistake, they can bring that pet, no questions asked, and we'll give them up to 1 year to spend the credit. We'll give them a full credit. We've had people, the truth is we haven't really given credits because we've always refunded people their money. We've had a serviceman that bought a very expensive puppy, one of our most expensive ever, a Frenchie. As you know, they're so expensive today. And I think 48 hours later, he got told by I think he was in the Navy.
He was a lineman doing line work.
He had to give back the dog. He was moved, and he had to do 6 weeks of a class. No questions asked. We refunded his money and took the dog back. We don't want people trying out pets, and we say that very loudly and clearly. But when life happens, we're there, and we stand behind our animals just 1,000%. And we have those tools.
And Jill, I've seen too some of your paperwork that you let me review before we did the show. You actually have a questionnaire for folks so they understand what is involved with taking care of a dog. It's a lifetime commitment for, it's 15 years. It's
absolutely,
it's expensive. You even said, expect to pay $20 a month for heartworm. Are you going to do this? You have this very detailed questionnaire to make sure folks know what they're getting into. It covers your warranty, which let's go out to the year warranty for the hereditary and congenital as well, because you folks have not been open a year, and yet these shelters are claiming they're getting puppies from the stores.
Again,
but you have a year warranty.
It's just not possible
for congenital and hereditary.
Absolutely, we cover
lifetime
everything.
for a year for congenital, a lifetime for hereditary.
Folks, they want the dogs back, and I believe you have your purchasers sign a contract that says if they're going to give up that dog, they need to come to you first.
Yep.
Throughout their lifetime. If they give up their pet, they have to bring it to us, and we will rehome their animal.
Throughout their lifetime. Folks, I can't understand how these stores got shut down. There are bad actors out there. But, Jill, you have been in this industry a long time, and you've seen the bad actors. And you actually have some really good ideas on an ordinance on how to allow the good actors to stay in business and get rid of the bad actors.
I think I have a 47-page ordinance drafted, and it's tough. And it's not easy to qualify and to retain licensure. As a pet shop, we live by those standards, and I think, I came at these recommendations based on our experience as an animal hospital, seeing what other stores do, other stores who have come to us to participate in the health care of their animals. It's an easy thing to do to formulate a set of standards that the bad actors can't survive. They just can't.
Board of County Commissioners, if you listen to this, please, Jill is going to reach out to you, and she wants to share this ordinance with you. This is why it's so important to include the voices of everybody. She may actually have something really good to offer this ordinance, because the ordinance that was passed in June gets rid of everybody, and I don't think there's anybody who can reasonably say 100% of all pet store owners are bad people. You can't even go there. It's nonsensical.
Casey, in the rescue's defense, years ago, there were probably close to 100% of bad. I don't know them, so I'm not going to make that. But years ago, there were many, many, many more bad than good. But a long time has passed. We've learned, as we've learned in every industry. We've learned so much just in the healthcare of animals and what they need. Years ago, we didn't do dentals every year on an animal. Never even thought of their teeth. So we've grown, the industry has grown, but good people have come into this profession, and we are filling a really important need to help people create families with pets.
And folks, again, I'm going to remind everybody, Jill started out as a nurse. She worked for Guardian Ad Litem. She worked on adoption agencies. This is a really good woman. You've committed your life to helping others, whether it's puppies or people or children. It's really good to get to know the faces behind these pet stores. I'm going to move on here. The Florida Puppy Lemon Law. What is that, and how does it protect people?
That's a law from the state of Florida. We have a copy of it in every client's go-home file. It gives them, it spells out their rights should they purchase an animal that is sick or has congenital issues, hereditary issues. It really covers somebody if they, I hate to refer to an animal as a lemon, but people understand that term with having bought a car.
That's right.
Just a lemon.
It's just a lemon.
And in the past, a lot of stores, a lot of breeders just don't stand behind the dogs. And this is a law. That's it's not a question. You don't have to sue somebody. You are protected under this law from purchasing an animal that has health issues and that nobody's standing behind.
I'm not
them.
even sure our commissioners realized there was a Florida Puppy Lemon Law out there. This is how this was brought to them. It was so one-sided.
That's
and
another
I
reason
think
why they're not showing up at the shelters and rescues sick.
There's lemon law.
protections.
That's right, protections. Jill and Rachel, why didn't you go to the county commissioners prior to now?
Well, the first thing after getting over the shock, we did reach out. The feedback we got was, it's too late, it's law. And if you imagine, they worked so hard, starting from a month after they handed us our license and welcomed us professionally to this community. They worked so hard to hide what they were doing, to do this cloak and dagger. They involved all these rescues. They didn't tell us what on earth would they possibly say at the point that they've already now gotten their law passed and telling us it's too late. We believed at the time that our best chance of survival was going to the city and asking the city to opt out of the ordinance.
And that went nowhere as well.
We found, I have to mention, the City of Stewart commissioners have been wonderful. They've been supportive. They have, for the most part, shared with us that they feel this was wrong. But they also shared with us that if they opt out, the county has threatened to pull all the animal services that they provide to the city. And the city just simply can't afford to take those animal services on. So they're in a position, at least they represented to us, that they literally have no choice. They can't support us.
And folks, we're talking about 2 pet stores. They couldn't notify 2 pet stores.
And I was notified. I got a call at maybe 11, 12 o'clock from a news source asking us how we felt about the ban that was just passed earlier that morning. And I was extremely caught off guard. And then hours later, we had video cameras at our front door, people being interviewed. I think Farm Dog Rescued was being interviewed in front of our store by another.
That's how we found out that.
Can you imagine, folks?
Putting us out of business.
Can you imagine? You just opened your business, you're running it, and folks, we're not going to have time to go into it today, but they've put a lot of money. They have 5-year leases that they've guaranteed, and they've put so much money in. This is the first year of a startup business. Any small business owner understands how stressful and how much money that first year is. You know, we're going to talk, we've got just 5 minutes, and I want to make sure we cover these next 2 topics. The Animal Care and Control Oversight Board is a county board that helped create this ordinance. They had a speaker from that board, Polly Campenny, and she spoke on behalf of the Animal Care and Control Board at the County Commission meeting on June 7th, and I just would like you to respond to her comments. First, she said, some of the puppies came from the local pet stores needing vet care and required euthanasia.
As I said, no store rolls an animal off a manufacturing line. We don't manufacture them. Animals do get sick, but there is no possibility, zero, that we have ever sold an animal that had a health issue that we did not stand behind 1,000%.
And they could take it to your vet clinic and you'd take care of it.
Free of charge,
So-
as long as it's needed to be.
She also said some purchasers were given documentation of breed authenticity that is incorrect.
This is a very specific case and a very specific woman who we actually filed a lawsuit against because this was the first thing that happened to us negatively when we came to this county. This family appeared to be a loving, wonderful family. They purchased an animal, purebred poodle. 2.5 days later, they went on a very, very popular social media site, Stuart Moms, and she accused us of the owners of Noble Paw owned a puppy mill. The puppy I bought is not a purebred poodle, and the documents are fraudulent. All three things categorically lies. We have generations of pedigrees on both parents of those dogs, and we believe what happened was she took that animal to her own vet, and as soon as the vet knew she purchased it from a retail store, he said to her, that doesn't even look like a purebred poodle.
So, folks, another unsubstantiated claim. I got to get through this
Completely.
show, but this was
We have
completely.
documentation to
they're
back
they're
that
suing
up.
over this.
We
So
are.
again, that was an unfounded claim.
We will adamantly defend ourselves.
The last thing Polly Campenny said was the physical condition of the stores are inconsistent with humane care of animals, which is very interesting because nobody came to your stores, nobody investigated your stores. Animal Care has been to your store and has found nothing wrong.
Yes, nobody has come, nobody has seen, and again, we own an animal hospital. I'm a nurse. We know how to sanitize. Our place is immaculate.
Finally, folks, I wanted to throw this out about the animal rights or rescues that are here locally. This is part of my letter I'm sending to the county commissions ahead of the next meeting on September 27th, where they should be taking this issue up. Virginia Sherlock, a board member of Caring Fields Felines, helped write the ordinance, and Caring Field Felines co-sponsored it. Caring Fields brought in $874,803 in revenue in 2019. Carrie Burgess of the Farm Dog Rescue brought in $274,984 in revenue. Impressive considering this was her first full year of operation. Polly Campenny sat on the Domino's Cat Rescue Board for nearly 20 years. Polly is also a sponsor and filled the role as foster coordinator for Caring Fields Felines. Domino's brought in $199,232. Nayla's New Life Rescue brought in $493,257. These are all from their latest tax returns that are posted on the IRS website for the public from 2019. 2020 and 2021 are not available. These 4 boutique rescues brought in $1,842,276. And this figure does not take into account the other rescues in the county. The Humane Society of the Treasure Coast brought in $3,567,623 and served over 7,200 animals. Ms. Burgess of Farm Dog Rescue stated in her public comment that she's getting those 10 to 15 intake calls. She only has 12 dogs on her website this week. Folks, there's a lot of money behind these rescues in this county. And by the way, our county commissioner, Ed Campy, also stated he's giving money from his district funds, which is our tax money, our taxpayer money that funds his district funds. So it's a big money for these rescues that are behind the scenes. Boy, I bet you would have liked to make $275,000 in your first year of operation.
You bet. I would surely. The rescues are very, very wealthy. It's amazing for this charitable work how much money comes into them, and it's such a conflict of interest that it's amazing nobody can see through this.
Truly is. The county's given them a lot of money, and then they shut down the competition. And it's really not a competition. We didn't even get into the fact that you guys have rescues as well.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
your goal is to have rescues later. We've got to sign off right now, folks.
Casey, you're a
Write the
godsend.
county commission.
Thank you so very much.
My pleasure. Write the county commission to support these businesses, people. We need to keep them open. The meeting's next Tuesday. Thank you so much. Noble Paul, Rachel, and Jill Scott.
Thank you so much, Casey.